This week on the podcast, I'm bringing you segments of a recent interview I did with Jeremy Keil. And in today's episode, we talk about retirement mistake number 2 that people make, and that is filing for Social Security at the wrong time. What I think is so important about this that we talk about is why you have to think long term, not just what's my monthly income going to be like today or this year if I start Social Security, but thinking about the downstream effects of that decision, especially later in life. So we dive into that in more detail. And I think it's a really important episode and a huge mistake that people make, especially if you are married. So without further ado, enjoy today's interview segment with Jeremy Keil. What's the next mistake that people tend to make?
The next mistake that you make in retirement is you file for Social Security at the wrong time. And one reason why you're filing for Social Security at the wrong time is you might be basing your thoughts and kind of guidance from others, like your parents. Well, your parents had different rules for Social Security. They might not have had that ability to do the delayed retirement credits. They might have had age 65 for the full retirement age as opposed to age 67, like a lot of people retiring today. And so, one, you should go get your personalized longevity estimate, but then also make your Social Security decision personalized. Don't just file at 62 because your parents filed at 62. Don't just delay all the way to 70 just because virtually every financial article says delay till 70. Look at your Social Security, and especially if there's two of you, you had two different decisions on it. A lot of times people think, whatever I did for one, I'm going to do for the other one. If I took it early, I'm going to take the other one early. If I take it later, I'm going to take the other one later. I'd encourage you almost maybe to do the opposite. If one you went early, maybe go later on the other one. And the way to go about thinking it this way is, especially if there's two of you and there's two different Social Securities, that means that there's a bigger one and a smaller one. And the bigger one will last for longer. The smaller one just goes away sooner. No matter who dies first, the smaller one goes away. So think of it like your Social Security box, where you've got a smaller amount that doesn't last as long, or a bigger amount that lasts longer. So you've got a bigger box for that bigger Social Security amount, and do what you can to get that one as big as you can, because that will last longer. So if you are the person who has the higher Social Security benefit, especially if you're older, you probably want to wait as long as you can, because this is going to be it's going to grow at a bigger dollar amount. If they both grow at 8% per year, which is what it does, the bigger number, 8% on a bigger number, is a bigger number. So that's the one you want to focus on and grow. And then the smaller one isn't nearly as important. So if you've got a thought, I kind of want to take my Social Security early, maybe do that with the smaller benefit. And if you're trying to get the most out of Social Security, and especially to protect the widow, take that higher Social Security and wait as long as you can.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful. A lot of people, when they go logging into the SSA.gov and getting that full statement that shows here's what it's going to be at 62, 63 every year, all the way out to 70, you can really see that there's a huge disparity for the higher income earner between if you took it as early as possible at 62 versus waiting until 70. Whereas, in a lot of couples, there's a big difference between one spouse's Social Security and the other. So for the lower income earner, you might only be giving up a couple $100 a month or something like that by taking it early. But for the higher income earner, you could be talking about $1,000 or more in difference of income. You're right, what you said about the widow preserving that higher benefit. I think a lot of people just think about, well, what am I going to get paid today? I need income today. I would like to start my Social Security today. But then we're talking about the longevity and how long you're going to live, but also the likelihood that, one spouse could outlive another by many, many years. And that other spouse is also going to need that higher income stream. So it's so important, I think, to really preserve that higher benefit amount for married couples and delay that if you can, because your surviving spouse, if they outlive you, is going to receive that higher dollar amount.
Yeah, and if you're trying to figure out how to get the most out of Social Security, you've got to approach it with the right attitude. And usually the attitude is, how do I get the most money next month? Really, you should be thinking about, how do I get the most money over my entire lifetime? And especially thinking, if there's two of you, how do either of us get the most money over our lifetime? And really think about that widow. A lot of 92-year-old widows, ladies especially, are living on the decision made 30 years earlier by their now deceased 62-year-old husband. And chances are, especially 30 years ago, he probably wasn't thinking about you. He wasn't thinking about his 92-year-old widow. Unfortunately, that's just kind of what happened. So as you're making your Social Security decision today, think about your future self. And even more importantly, if you're the higher benefit earner, and if you're the male especially, think about that widow 30 years from now. And every decision that you make now is going to be affecting her 30 years from now.
Yeah, that's a really good point.